So welcome to the UpLevel Podcast, Dr. Rick Tamlyn. Okay, that's
Hello.
a new addition to the name since the last time I saw you. So please give us this context.
It is. But before I do that, Christy, man, I just have to say to you, dear one and dear friend and colleague for, 10 years now? No, probably 15.
Almost 2 decades, my love. 2 decades.
Okay, let me know. See how? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of you, if you remember my bio or if you know about me or I've been in the industry, you've been hanging out. I wrote a book called many years ago with Hay House called Play Your Bigger Game. But I must start out by saying that, Christy, man, if I were to look up the definition of bigger game, you would be there as an example. The work you do, the commitment you have, this podcast is an example of you are committed to people understanding what coaching's about, having them be lit up by what coaching does, and having it be an ROI that influences zillions of people. So just wanted to make sure I started off with underlining you are a bigger game player. I know that it's true, but so. Okay. Oh, Dr. Thing. Yeah, right. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
So during COVID, whoa, right? Right. And I've been hanging out in the spiritual world, by the way, in the metaphysical space, also for about 40 years. So the coaching industry and the metaphysical space for me are one big double helix.
100%.
Right? And we'll kind of go into that.
Yep.
So a leader person in my life who happens to be my spiritual mentor, who's a minister and a speaker and an author himself, started a class through the Ralph Waldo Emerson Institute called Advanced Consciousness. Mm-hmm. It was a 2-year deep dive into quantum physics. That was the context. And we read books and heard speakers and wrote a paper every week for 2 years. And then there was a big project at the end and it had to be approved, sort of dissertation-ish. And at the end, I had to take a test and present and speak and, prove my inner life and my outer life and my words could speak enough about this advanced consciousness conversation. And I received my doctorate from the Ralph Waldo Emerson Institute, which was it was a fun thing to, quote unquote, get the doctorate. But boy, the learning was mind-blowing from an inside-out thing. And here's what it did for me. It verified why coaching works.
Okay, what's that verification?
Right. So coaching is a conversation, right? And I'm going to get really simplistic here, everybody, but I think this is for some of you who are coaches, I invite you to use this as a marketing enrollment concept. Like seriously. Your life, my life is being designed by 3 conversations. This conversation.
The one inside our head.
One inside our heads, the one we're having with other people. You and I are having a conversation, although I'm talking a lot right now. You'll come in. And then I want to dare say the conversation with the greater space, the collective, the field, if you will, the field of energetic force.
I love it.
That's quantum physics. And so those 3, what is my relationship and what am I talking to in those 3 worlds? A coach comes along and says, let's get conscious on that conversation. Let's have that be a healthier conversation. Let's have that be a responsible conversation. Because then, and this is the quantum metaphysical part, the outside life, dare I say, the universe will go, oh, that's what Christy Mann is up to. I'm going to start to put things in front of you based on that conversation. So coaching for me now is not just a strategic conversation. It is a spiritual development conversation.
Oh my, you are speaking my language, Ricky T. Dr. Ricky T in the house. That is brilliant and beautiful. Congratulations. What a testament to your tenor in this profession and all of the years you've put in to really grow your craft and serve others. Like this is what a great place to be in. I mean, that's what I'm making up.
Thank you. And I think as personal development and people who are in I like to call it the advanced. We are advancing consciousness. We're advancing conversations, right? Which advancing conversations advances consciousness. We have to be in training and teaching and learning for forever.
Forever.
So whatever coaching school you went to, yay. For some of us, that was the basics. And then it's what's the next level. I know you do work there. I do work there. We have colleagues who are doing advanced consciousness stuff. And so this industry, what I love about it, it has woven into spiritual work and strategy work and money consciousness and all these great modalities, that people are now weaving into what I like to think is really again, I keep using this language, but it's a consciousness conversation more than just coaching conversation.
I love this. And this is why I wanted to end the season with you, is like not only because of all the brilliance you just shared and who you be in the world, but because you were one of the very first people who brought coaching into the workplace. You were one of the original pioneers, the OGs, the OPs, the original players. And folks can go back and hear the episode Wisdom from Our Elders. You were one of our panelists, and that's what you really brought forward. And I said, I can't wait to talk about the ROI of coaching the workplace because I need to hear from Rick. Let's go back, take us back because we're ending now. So let's take us back to the beginning. What was it like? How did you talk about coaching then? How did you ever get it inside the workplace?
Well, there's a lot of, first of all, it's like early adopter without a doubt. Come out of the tradition of the coaches or Coactive Training Institute, right? You and I come out of that particular school of thought, which we love and are brilliant and we're a little bit biased towards, right? There's a lot of other modalities out there that I've now embraced, which I think are also great. But here, so there were logistically, here's what was happening. There were public workshops. And then a couple of people from the quote unquote, the corporate arena came to these workshops and were like, okay, I'm having this transformational inside out. When's the next one? And then they were like, okay, this conversation I'm having, and they literally used the word, this conversation I'm having is so in line with developing people. Mm-hmm. So can you come to our world and do one of these workshops for a room? Now that was the room, and I want to give a shout out to Susan Baldessari from IBM. So she reached out to Laura Whitworth, one of the founders of CTI, and said to Laura, let's bring one of these workshops in. Laura kind of reached out to me. Okay, let's do it. And, they grabbed some people, let's put them into a room, let's see, did the circle thing. And again, I give them all credit. They were willing to let go. It was a bit of not a strategy session. This is a personal development session. But here was the doorway in that got really clear. They saw it as handling one of their values called people development. So many organizations in the early years, they had to link the training and the teaching and the coaching to a value that was inside their leadership development program on the wall of right? So it was very values driven.
Okay.
Which was great. Like that's an easy, because they were like, okay, I think IBM even had one called inside their leadership value system it was called people development or growing people or something like that. And there was no ROI. They were like, they didn't really teach that. They're just like, good luck in the hallway or, bring somebody into your office. It was a very random, and they went, oh, this actually checks that box, which we really believe in. And really, we want to grow our people. Organizations know if you don't grow your people, they're going to leave. You don't just pay them more. You need to pay them more. You need to grow them more. Yeah. Those two things go together. I'm now loyal to this organization forever. So they saw it as a personal development program or part of that personal development program, leadership development. And then, of course, they wanted to create what they termed, I want to give them credit. Did we say it? Did they say it? I don't know. We co-created it. Leader as coach.
Yeah. Leader.
So that language came in, and you've probably heard it. You've been out, but that was an early adopted language. Like, oh, we need our leaders to be better coaches, not managers.
So what was it like for you to be one of the first coaches to start to bring this in and to be talking about it and expanding the competency inside the workplace.
Yeah. Ironically, I've been doing enough public workshops at the time. It was not this sort of radical, like, oh my God, we have to redo the timelines. And it was a pretty similar, you're all willing to kind of let go and experience this thing. And, by the way, it was training. To be clear, we were modeling some coaching in the workshops, but these were workshops to train people to have a coach approach style in their leadership. So everybody understands. So that, however, just like the public workshops, some people popped out and said, hey, Rick, can I talk to you on Monday? I want to talk to you about my life because I got value as a client inside this workshop. Now I actually want an executive coach. And at that point, here's the truth. I was like, I guess I'm an executive coach because I'm working with an executive. Remember those earlier? It's like, what's an executive coach? And I give credit to Henry House, one of the founders of CTI. He goes, it's coaching. It happens to be an executive. Like, they got stuff, they got life, they got dreams, they want next level.
Yes.
They want to up level.
Yes.
And, they need to have a conversation that they can trust and where it's confidential. And so that snowballed. That just one workshop turned into 10, turned into 100. Then we were, if IBM's doing it, somebody found out, oh, we need to do it. And then it just, all of a sudden, I was in, I don't know, about 5 different companies. We were on the road a lot. I feel so blessed and honored to have gone around the globe for IBM and a couple of other organizations, Cargill being another one.
Yes.
These global organizations, and as soon as they're global, you're like, okay, we're sending you to China. We're sending you to, I'm like, okay. And
unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that work. Because of you, my generation, we are able to make a career out of this, and because you and Susan and some of the other original folks, like, we're able to bring this inside an organization and to continue to show the business case, even if it wasn't correlated back to actual KPIs and metrics, whether it was connected to a value proposition, like you said, or a vision. So thank you for doing that work. And I know it sounds like it was fun. Like you said, it wasn't like this big thing, but and maybe you didn't even realize you were pioneering. Like, can you look back and like, do you think?
I know, it's so funny. I think that's so true. When people when you look back, you were a hero or you were a pioneer. The ego goes, what? Oh, okay, thanks. It's sort of like, so, but I want to underline the ROI. Because I know that's a key part of your us talking today. They did map it to customer satisfaction. They were able to measure and connect the dot to, let's just call it, happiness of the employee. All that soft stuff.
Yeah.
And now post-COVID, all that quote unquote soft stuff is now the hard stuff.
Yeah. And mission critical for any organization.
Beautifully said, mission critical.
Yeah.
Right. So here we are. So,
yeah.
It was fun and wild and crazy. We had weekly calls, and I give Laura Whitworth credit and the team. There was about 4 or 5 of us that were holding this. We would meet every Monday. How did it go this weekend? What was the learning? What was the feedback? It was very granularly held, and we need to tweak that. And, that the way we trained that triggered that room a little bit. We didn't have the word trigger back then like we do now, but, we now are like, oh, that kind of created so timelines were tweaked, language was tweaked, exercises got tweaked a little bit, because the context of work life and personal life, even though we were able to marry the two, your work life and your personal life are pretty much one. But we had to tweak some things. So I give us credit for the constant looking to what was needed to train it and to sweeten it. So
this is actually one of my favorite things about delivering these types of courses or any kind of transformational work inside an organization. And some of my friends have And like, don't you get bored of doing that? You've been doing it for almost 2 decades. I'm sure you've had the question. I find in the organizational context, we are redesigning every moment, every course, every second, because we're creating from the culture in that organization, the individuals in the room, the wisdom they bring, the wounds they bring, if you will, like all of the stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why it keeps me going back to organizations. And also because, Rick, obviously, you and I have talked about this, organizations have such a huge influence on culture, on our world, on everything, right? And the ripple effect of that. So what was it for you about serving in organizations that kept you going back?
I love what you said a moment ago about the wound energy a little bit. I loved going back because they were actually able to express their pain in a responsible way, because you and I both know, and many people know, like out of sync with their job, there to make money, they're overworked. That whole energy. And so it was a very personalized conversation, not like the public workshops where we got behind the curtain of how's it really going. Let's really talk about it. And we also had to design with all organizations, be ready to lose people. You are going to actually right size and write your organization. We kind of made up that term. We're going to write it, RIGHT. Yeah. Write people and, very, okay, what's the 10, not the habits guy. Good to great.
Yes. Good to great.
Good to great. Yeah. Right people in the
right seats.
The right bus going in the right direction. So out of sync employees, like, okay, this is not my right job. I need to talk to my boss. We get homework. If I'm coaching somebody, you're going to go talk to your boss, redesign your job, ask for a different job. And the good news on these global organizations, so many new places to go. And what they were brilliant at is we want our people to be in the right seat on the right bus. Yes. We want some joy over them. We want some happiness. We want some fulfillment from their work life because, oh, by the way, they spend 70 to 80% of their life in our world.
Yes. Yes to that.
Different now. This was that back then. COVID, it woke us up to why are we killing ourselves? That's a whole different topic.
Well, and I do agree with you that there's still organizations that we've worked with who don't quite understand that some people will leave the organization because this type of work gets people in touch with what's most important to them. And that's a good thing, because you don't want the people who don't want to be there. You want people who are like aligned with your mission and values, or, mostly so. And so that is one of the outcomes.
And now think about the energetic impact of low energetic, just getting through with people.
Yeah.
Think about that. Yeah. Who wants to walk into a space of that quote unquote consciousness, that energetic? So you and I align on this concept. Energy is everything. Organizations are starting to so understand it, and they call it culture. What's the culture? What's the texture? What's the flavor? But coaching actually, again, quote unquote, cleans up that energy, gets it moving, right? People motivated, activated, clear. I want out. I want in. I need to play a bigger game. Inside it, I'm so bored. I need to redesign my job. All that stuff, which is so cool, because what it's doing is it's actually telling the employee, you matter a lot. And we're going to invest in you by giving you a coach, or we suggest you get one, because that it increases the conversation, which impacts the energy, which impacts the vibration, which then leads to the attraction to the company growing.
There you have it, folks. That's the ROI right there. That's it. And the organizations that really get that, Rick, and I know you know this, they have internal coaches. They've trained employees who are actually job is to coach. They also have external coaches, executive and leadership coaches. They are training their people managers in coaching skills so that they're able to coach their direct reports. Yeah. So it's not just one, like, hey, let's go do a workshop, or let's have a couple people have a coach. It's coming at it from many angles to create this system of a culture that's like engaging, healthy, vibrant, alive. I mean, this is more and more what our world needs. So, Ricky T, tell us about the bigger game.
Sure. Well, just happened to have, it's right over here, there it is. And I just happen to have a coffee. So again, out of coaching. So I want to give credit to Laura Whitworth, again, one of the founders of CTI, Coaches Coactive Training Institute. By the way, I keep saying Coaches Training Institute. It renamed itself, along the way, to Coactive Training Institute. So here's the deal. Bottom line, Laura Whitworth and myself, she called me one day and said, hey, I'm working on this kind of new theory, this new philosophy. And we started to have conversations with some other people as well. What was going on in people who were having more success, more fulfillment, more income, more of an aliveness to life than others? And the bigger game philosophy was born out of that. And very simply, do I have a card? I don't think I have a card with me. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I did. So I'm not going to go into it, everybody. There'll be a link. You can go read this. But we came up with these 9 elements of what it means to play a bigger game. Basically, the core philosophy is when you're up to something that's really compelling, that's bigger than you, Christy Man, and you want to influence and impact on a grander scale because it touches your soul to do it, that's a bigger game. It's going to grow you, change you, ask you to do things that are outside your comfort zone, all that stuff. But we so realized that the people who said to us in our coaching calls, I want to impact, or I want to, rather than I want a new lawnmower.
Yeah.
So it got very clear. It became very clear. It was almost like a leadership development model. What's the impact you want to have with your life? What's the thumbprint or the handprint you're putting on this world while you're here? And that became a conversation, became a model. Then, God bless, IBM said, hey, do you have anything else? Laura and I are like, yep, we do. It's called the Bigger Game Workshop.
Wow.
Then we were in IBM and many other organizations as well, because that became a leadership development model for them. And then I had the blessing and the opportunity. I remember doing a Bigger Game 2-day workshop in IBM. About 6 months later, somebody in that workshop calls me who's in charge of sort of mid-level management, up-leveling. You can use your word a lot today. Up-level our people. We have to do something to up-level our people. All over Asia, by the way, he was in charge of the Asia Pacific region. And he said, Rick, can you do either a 90-minute or a 2-hour interactive keynote in 8 different countries in Asia?
Wow.
I'm like, yeah. So this guy, I apologize, I can't remember his name, such a cool guy, so understood the philosophy. Yeah. And Chrissy, I'm in these rooms, minimum of 100, max 800 people, doing bigger game board was on the floor. These people are moving, talking in their language of their country. Talk about your own bigger game. I was out of my comfort zone. Yeah. There were times behind the curtain because they'd bring me out, ladies and gentlemen, the author of the Bigger Game, and my little ego would be like, whoa, who's that guy? You know how that goes.
Yeah.
You know what? Here's what happens, everybody. The fear comes from the preamble. It doesn't actually come from the moment. When you get out on the stage or you get into that room and you get committed to that human, and you get committed to this room learning something, all of that, I don't know what I'm doing, goes away. For those of you that are coaches, you know what I'm talking about. This good coaching doesn't live in, aren't I amazing? Good coaching lives in, aren't you amazing? And my job is to activate your amazingness.
Yeah. Well, so you've been living your bigger game, since those moments.
Yeah.
What's it been like, Rick, to be living? You're walking your talk.
Yeah. Here's the truth. I go to some of this language. I get hungry for something, and then I get overwhelmed, and I need to call somebody. And I have a therapist in my life, by the way, who really reminds me of what I'm all about. And I mean that not from a fixing context. Yeah. To be honest, I work with a Jungian therapist. If anybody knows, that's a whole nother level of unconscious work. So what I love about the work I do in the world now, it keeps animating and activating my personal growth self, my spiritual development. Like, I'm going to do this. As my husband said to me the other day, we designed this. He says, let's design it where you actually are 98, you're on a stage, and the secret to life, everybody, is, and you just drop.
That would be your ideal scene.
That would be the ideal
planet, right?
That would be the ideal way to go. I know. There's people laying in bed. I just had a friend recently, her mother died. It's like, no, I just want to be really dramatic and be,
That's the way Ricky T's got to exit.
Yeah, that's
brilliant.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, the other part that one of the things I've loved to witness almost over the past 2 decades is your partner, Chuck, who is your leader behind or your leader beside. I don't know how you would describe him, but he really runs the back end of your show, your business, your gigs. So tell us a little bit about what is it like to be co-creating with a life partner and he's your business partner?
Yes. Well, I'll begin with we work with a business coach as well to kind of be strategically clear. I have strategy probably at a 70% kind of consciousness, and then I have a business coach kind of come in and go, okay, no, go do this, don't do, that those strategist people. Oh my God, they're so smart. You're one of those people.
Okay.
You're like, I'm sort of the creative artist kind, so I'm like, should I do this or this? And she's like this. My point is, when we first hired her about 8 years ago, the first conversation was never go into business with your partner.
Sure.
So we looked together, we're like, oh, thanks. So, and then she said, one of you needs to be the decision maker primarily, because you don't have a third person to break the tie. But we've worked it out. I have to be honest. We play with this board a little bit once in a while. We get help. We hire people. I'm now leaning into my dear partner, Chuck, has such brilliant intuition. Those people that, let me say it this way, some of us have to go get trained in stuff. Chuck just sort of has this stuff. He sort of doesn't need to go to spiritual training school.
No, those are the best people. He's like, it's in him. It's just,
I know. And then I get jealous and like, I have to go spend money to look at stuff, to do this. He drops in and goes, I think we should go in this direction. And then of course, a year later, I'm like, oh my God.
He was so right.
So then, daily tactically, he's like, he helps rewrite copy for me, so he's very tactical, and everybody should have, around us, everybody, we do have a little fun thing about everybody should have a good Chuck.
I love that. Hashtag, everybody should have a good Chuck. Well, but you are a beautiful example of co-leadership and also each of you in your genius, right? In your zone of genius, your strengths and how it complements each other. So of course. Of course, there's the human days. There's the days where it's like, we're spending too much time together.
We're like, really? I'm quitting. You're going to do this on your own.
So Produce You tell us how that originated, because I know it's come from the bigger game, but also you started it during the pandemic, right?
No, earlier on 2015. 2016, I guess, was the first round. So yeah, another iteration of personal and, dare I call it, spiritual development. And it did come, you're right, it came out of a bigger game. So bigger game philosophy, ideology, a workshop, train the trainer, lots of things. And it still lives on as a very successful training unto itself. And I started to be one of those people, and there are a number of us now, who was watching people in the transformational space struggle and suffer, quote unquote, how do I have this be a business? How do I have myself be known and seen more? That whole concept. So, because that's the path to success. I mean, how did I get into IBM? I showed up a lot. I was in a lot of rooms. I spoke. I went to local networking events. So this whole be seen and be heard and be known thing is really important, right? One could call it marketing. We get over, as well, so loaded, and, social media. Not going to go down that path, or I'll be an and to that. Produce You, Chuck and I looked at each other and said, how do we help people? And he said, well, I'm producing you. He literally said that. I went, oh, oh, that's what it should be called. Let's go help co-produce people.
Amazing.
So we hold ourselves as co-producers of people in the transformational, heart-centered space. We have practitioners in the spiritual world. We have life coaches. We have leadership development people. And I think our genius is we have a marketing person who helps. It's a year-long container, like we mean business, to be seen and heard and bought.
Incredible.
But I think the genius part is actually in the content. I'm the, dare I say, the genius for me in this is I'm helping them with their content, not just their service. Like, what is your philosophy?
Yes.
That you're actually selling? Because people are like, I'm a coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thousands and thousands of those. Yep.
So we got to go behind the curtain. So I'm helping people come out about what they believe about how we create, how we manifest, how we have the lives we want. Some of us are trained in things like that. Some of us have our own philosophy, but we got to come out about how does it work?
Yeah. And what's the unique wording, language, like approach to each individual? So you help pull that out and produce that individual.
Produce that, get into the world, social media, help you with your own event, get people on podcasts. Here we are. I mean, you're an example. You're putting your message into the world, right? Through a podcast, many other forms.
Yeah.
You guys are on a mission, because that's the other thing. Produce you is mission based. What's your mission? Yeah, we'll monetize your mission, but we need to mission it before we monetize it.
What's your personal mission or vision or life purpose? I don't know what language you're using these days.
Yes, no, I know. I don't know. It's like, why do I get out of bed, right? The philosophy I think is really important is I think when people experience their impact made real, it touches their souls and they go, oh my God, that feels so good. And that's not our ego. That's our soul going, I showed up and I impacted the world on some level. And I just think that feels so good. Mm-hmm. Lots of people are like, oh my God, you're just helping people feed their egos. And I go, no, actually, the soul-based mission. So humans, one-on-one, one-on-many, keynotes, whatever form it wants to take. But I do love working with people inside Produce You. It's about 28 people right now. It's very, very focused, daily conversations. Don't get to sort of be stuck. Our motto for that program is if you're stuck for more than 20 minutes, you're reaching out to one of our team and me. You don't get to be stuck for more than 20 minutes.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so there is going to be an event coming up in October. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, the doorway into that to learn more about me and experience me and my philosophy, it's called Produce You, the event. It is a virtual event. We've gotten that down now during COVID. Woo, we all went into the TV studio world, game changing.
Amazing. I watched it, like just seeing you with all the screens in your living room. I mean, it was like a Tony Robbins event.
Yeah, that's sort of my model. I'm not at that, numbers, but the model is there. Yeah, I geek out. I like technology. I like PowerPoint. I like videos. So I geek out, and it's an opportunity for people to get jump started with their bigger game of their good work in the world. And then, of course, I'm going to be very transparent. I then invite people to join me for a year, right? And let's really make this work.
Let's go deep.
Let's go deep. Let's go deep. Let's go wide. Let's come out.
I love that.
Right.
Oh, and Rick, it's such an important part of your mission, because I think one of the things that I admire about you so much is your ability to deeply see people and then articulate, like, this is who I see you being in the world. And in a way that's, fresh, that is unique, so that the individual can take that and build and create from it. So, you've been on purpose and living your mission for so long, but I feel like this deeper, like, immersion you've put yourself in and you're taking others through is such a beautiful expression of why you're here at this moment in time.
Thank you. I thank you for saying it when you hear it reflected back at you. It's like, yeah, I guess that's true. It's just sort of like my job now, and I love the concept of leaders need jobs. This is my job. It's my calling. There's all these other words, but it's like, this is what I've chosen to do at 65 years old. And lots of people are like, you don't have to do this anymore. I'm like, no, my soul does. Maybe my bank account still does a little, but so I'm a fan of let's be in the game until we can't be, so.
Let's actually go to 98-year-old Rick, who's on that stage and is presenting and, falls over. When he looks back on your legacy and your contribution to not just coaching, but humanity, what will he be leaving with in his heart?
Oh, good question. Ironically, I just want to say we actually have introduced you right now. We have a 91-year-old. She is rocking it.
Oh, I love that. Can we make that the norm that we know?
I know. Well, I have an 82-year-old and a 91-year-old. I don't know what happened in this last round of, I know they were like, I have to be in this thing. One of them said brilliantly, I was, playing Mahjong and reading too many romance novels. I was so bored. And she said, I'm in your world. And now she's doing workshops now. She's doing some stand-up. She's doing some keynote, she's just written a book. It just came out. It did pretty well. And she's like, oh my God. And she did it for the money per se, but we're helping her make a little money at 92. And so I shared, it's funny that you go to the age thing. So I don't know, maybe my market it's aging with me, What's a big question when you ask that? I think I'll be able to say proudly, I gave it all. I gave it all. I left it all on the field. And that makes me want to cry. It just, I came out about being a gay man. I came out about being a spiritualist. I came out there'll be nothing that I've withheld. Because the other thing that I think is going on a little bit is everybody's trying to couch it. I can't talk about that here, and I can't talk about that here. And I'm just, oh my gosh, just come out about your beliefs. You will attract the right people and repel the other people.
Yeah.
And I don't want to there's a lot of politics right now that are like, oh, we're not talking about that level.
No, we're talking about the quantum physics. This is the energetics of it, people. Right. This is important. This is really important.
Yeah, we're all in the meta business. If you're listening to this podcast, and the meta business is above all the particles of life. We're in the training of the consciousness of people. And I think I could even say it now. If it happened yesterday, I'd go, I gave it my best shot. I wrote a book. I train. I teach. I coached. I cajoled. I think there's more fun projects to do. I hear you are a podcast. I'm like, I think I need to do a podcast too.
Have a great podcast. Yeah. It would be amazing. You wouldn't need guests. You could just talk and share all your wisdom, rattle it off for all of us. So we are going to start to land our plane here. We're going to have to talk again because we just scratched the surface.
Yeah. We scratch the metaphysical surface.
That's it.
No such thing as a surface and metaphysical because there's all one.
There you go. So there's typically two people that are listening to this. There's other practitioners, coaches, maybe newer to the profession, maybe who have been around for a while. And then there's business leaders, folks who might be in the decision-making seat to bring coach training or coaching into the organization, and others who are probably advocates for it and are looking for ways, how do I get this technology into my organization? Because they know it will create a return on investment of all the things we said. So what is your words of wisdom for those two distinct audiences around what to do to keep this work happening and why to keep it happening? Long question, stacked.
Yeah, point me if I get off track. The why is, here's why, because people want to be developed. People want a bigger conversation. People want an advanced conversation. Actually, I want to be clear, not all people. But we need some people to have the bigger conversation, not just the strategic, this level conversation. I think leaders, by the way, need to be in the meta conversation, and we're heading there, right? I think every leader should take a metaphysics class or quantum physics class. I mean, I'm on the okay, how do we get quantum physics into the leadership space? That's what's coming. It's huge. It's coming. It's a wave. You can feel it. Even in the class I took, there were a couple of corporate people who were like, whoa, I got to get this going inside my organization. And it's pretty, mind bending stuff. But science is now catching up to what I think some intuitive people knew in the coaching space and the conversation space and the transformational space, which is great. Science is catching up to what we already knew. And I don't want to give us credit. I think actually the Greeks knew, the Romans knew.
Oh yeah.
And, we go into that. We've done some damage to some amazing traditions and ways of being that are, as we all know, are wobbly on the impact they're having on the world. So for those of you that are listening that, personal practitioner, you just want to, there's the why you do it, because there's nothing else. There's no other option. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's sort of like the actor who said to me years ago, I was in the acting industry, like, if there's something else you want to do, go do that. And then I found something else. This world grabbed me. But in the acting space, it's like, it has to grab you, right? The other thing is, I want to say to the personal practitioner person, please be enthusiastic about this. Please froth this. Mm-hmm. Please bring this alive. Your job is to bring this alive, not just to convince the ROI. People respond to energy. People respond to, I'm kind of flailing my arms right now. I don't want to get too into the theater part of it, but energy matters. So every cocktail party you go to, hey, what do you do? Oh my God, how much time do you have? Can I I know that might be awkward, but your level of aliveness and love of this is what matters. And think about it this way. We love seeing people be in love. Mm. Now, the context of that is in love with other people. A movie, we're like, or people, think Taylor Swift and Kelsey, whatever his name is, right? We love. So when you're in love with this so much and you share how much you love it, gravitational pull.
Yes. Yes.
Gravitational pull. That's quantum physics. There's an energy going on over there. What is that?
Brilliant.
Right. And then to the organizational person, first of all, I'm here. Christy Mann is here. Come talk to people. There's people who can help and guide and be the wisdom guru a little along the way up from our experience, what worked, what didn't. But I think we're in a world right now that I don't think you have to do a lot of work or a lot of convincing that people need or want a personal development conversation. And, I think that's a hunger that's out there. And I know that's a budget issue and we don't have the time or all that stuff. But where the world is right now, that's a differentiator. It is a huge differentiator that, we develop our people, and don't you want to come to our organization, and you'll get a one-on-one conversation once a month or whatever that structure is. So that's that's all I got for now.
It's beautiful and it's poignant. And it's so needed. We use the language mission critical to get this technology into the workplace. This is a differentiator. That's a big part of the return on investment.
Yeah.
Dr. Rick Tamlyn.
Feels good. Can we just have a moment? It just feels good and it feels right.
Feels good and it feels right. It's like, this is what we're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
While we do our work, we're meant to do it in right relationship. And when things get bumpy, which they constantly are now more so than ever, we need skills and tools and concepts to recover to help deepen the connection with each other.
Deepen the resiliency and up the responsibility. And that's a beautiful thing. When you have people realize that they're responsible for their own worlds, that is game changing. That's right. So
it's the bigger game.
Yeah.
Dr. Rick Tamlyn, thank you for being here. Thank you for completing our ROI of Coaching in the Workplace series. We just adore you and love you. And I can't wait to be in the the talk you give when you're 98, not because you might leave, but because of the additional wisdom that's going to happen over these next 30 years. Like, hello.
Hopefully there'll be another book. Yeah, it'll be fun to sort of see. So thank you for that. So, Suzanne, what a pleasure. Thank you for the good work you do. As I said, I opened with that. Thank you. You are playing a bigger game. Thank you for getting this work to a whole nother level, because you are up-leveling consciousness and impact and influence for the sake of a better world. Thank you.
Love you, Ricky. Thank you.